Hello, would-be librarians. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Let's continue our discussion of UGC NET June 2025 Library Science paper. Today, I will be covering question number 66 to 70 with detailed explanation in simple and clear language. If you haven't watched my previous videos, do check them out. Links are given in the description box below. So, let's begin. Question number 66 is, an academic librarian is tasked with implementing AI-driven services in a university library. Which of the following tools and technologies should they prioritize? The options given are machine learning models for circulation forecasting, AI-enabled virtual reference assistants, facial recognition for access control of stacks, auto-tagging of digital resources using NLP, manual classification schemes like DDC. The correct option is option number 1, that is A, B and D only. Let's understand each option one by one. Option number A is machine learning models for circulation forecasting. This means using AI to predict which books will be issued more in the future. For example, the system can analyze past circulation data and tell the librarian what students may need next semester. Next option is AI-enabled virtual reference assistants. These are chatbots or virtual assistants that help users answer basic questions like where is the book located, how to access e-resources, etc. Option number D is auto-tagging of digital resources using NLP. NLP stands for Natural Language Processing. This allows AI tools to read documents and automatically add subject tags or keywords. This makes searching easier for users. So it's a very useful and widely used AI function. Next option is facial recognition for access control of stacks. This uses face recognition technology to allow only authorized people into certain areas. Although it uses AI, it is less commonly preferred in academic libraries because it raises privacy issues. Next is manual classification schemes like DDC. DDC is a traditional classification system. It is manual, so it is not an AI technology. So the tools and technologies which might be prioritized by an academic librarian in a university library out of the given options are machine learning models for circulation forecasting, AI-enabled virtual reference assistants, and auto-tagging of digital resources using NLP. Next question is, which of the following databases are commonly used in health science academic libraries? The options given are PubMed, Sinhal, Hain Online, ASME Journals, and Scopus. The correct option is option number 3, that is A, B, and E only. PubMed, Sinhal, and Scopus are the correct options. PubMed, Sinhal, and Scopus are the databases which are commonly used in health science academic libraries. PubMed contains millions of biomedical research articles from journals worldwide. It is very commonly used in health science libraries. Sinhal stands for Cumulative Index to Nursing and Allied Health Literature. It is specifically for nursing, physiotherapy, and other paramedical subjects. And Scopus is a multidisciplinary abstracting and indexing database. It covers science, medicine, technology, social sciences, everything. Most health science colleges use Scopus for research evaluation and literature search. Now these two databases, that is Hain Online and ASME Journals, are not related to health sciences. Hain Online is mainly a law and legal studies database. It focuses on law journals, government documents, and legal research. And ASME stands for American Society of Mechanical Engineers. This is a mechanical engineering journal collection. Question number 68 is, according to Edward Evans, which of the following are work analysis techniques? The options given are PERT, Gantt chart, operation research, cost effectiveness, cost benefit analysis. The correct option is option number 1, that is Gantt chart and cost effectiveness. Edward Evans identified several techniques to study and improve library work, focusing on efficiency, time, cost, and workflow. These techniques help librarians understand how work is being done and how it can be improved. Here are the main techniques explained briefly. First is Gantt chart. It is a bar chart that shows tasks on a timeline. It helps visualize when tasks start, how long they take, and when they end. It is useful for scheduling and tracking progress. Next is cost effectiveness analysis. It compares different methods of doing the same task and checks which one gives the best result for the least cost. It focuses on efficiency and productivity. Next is time and motion study. It involves observing workers to find how much time each task takes and if there is any wastage of effort. It helps redesign tasks for better speed and accuracy. Next is flowcharts. Flowcharts are diagrams showing the step-by-step movement of work. It helps identify bottlenecks, unnecessary steps, and delays. Fifth is work sampling. Instead of watching continuously, observation is done at random intervals. It helps find out how often certain activities occur and how much time they consume. Next is system analysis. It studies the entire system, including people, procedures, and technology, and helps understand how all parts connect and how to improve them. Last is performance evaluation. It measures how effectively a worker or system performs. It helps identify training needs and improve quality. As we studied earlier that option number B and D, that is Gantt chart and cost effectiveness, are work analysis techniques according to Edward Evans. Let's understand other options that are given in our question. First is PERT. PERT means Program Evaluation and Review Technique. It is used for planning and scheduling projects. It is a type of project management tool, not directly a work analysis technique in Evans' model. Option number C is Operation Research. It is a scientific method used for decision making and optimization. It is very broad and not considered a specific work analysis technique by Edward Evans. Last is cost benefit analysis. It compares total cost versus total benefit. This is related to financial evaluation, not specifically a work analysis technique. Next question is, which of the following are non-parametric tests? The options given are ANOVA test, Spearman correlation coefficient, Z-test, chi-square test, and Kruskal-Wallis test. The correct option is option number 4, that is B, D, and E only. According to which Spearman correlation coefficient, chi-square test, and Kruskal-Wallis test belong to non-parametric tests. To answer this question, first remember one simple rule that parametric tests are used when data is normally distributed. Examples of parametric tests include t-test, z-test, and ANOVA. And non-parametric tests used when data is not normally distributed. It is used for ranks, categories, or small sample sizes. Examples of this category are chi-square, Spearman, and Kruskal-Wallis. ANOVA test needs normally distributed data and Z-test is used for large samples. Spearman correlation coefficient measures correlation using ranks. Chi-square test used for categorical data like yes or no, male or female. Kruskal-Wallis test is the non-parametric test alternative to ANOVA. It is used when data is in ranks. Last question is, identify the principles for the implementation of the canon of helpful sequence. The options given are principle of spatial contiguity, principle of increasing literary warrant, principle of modulation, enumeration and management. The correct option is option number 4, that is A and B only, according to which the correct options are principle of spatial contiguity and increasing literary warrant. There are 8 principles of helpful sequence which are given here for your reference. It includes time sequence, evolutionary sequence, spatial sequence, quantitative measure sequence, complexity sequence, traditional or canonical sequence, literary warrant sequence, and alphabetical sequence. Canon of helpful sequence says that subjects in a classification scheme should be arranged in a sequence that is helpful to the user. In simple words, the order of topics should make sense, be easy to follow, and help readers find what they need. To apply this canon, Ranganathan gave certain principles which we talked about earlier. Now let's understand each option which are given in the question. The option number A is principle of spatial contiguity. This means keeping related subjects close to each other. If two subjects are connected, they should appear near each other on the shelves or in classification. Next is principle of increasing literary warrant. This means arranging topics based on the amount of literature available. Subjects with more literature comes first, then subject with less literature comes later. Both these principles helps create a logical and useful order for users. Option number C, that is principle of modulation, it belongs to notational devices. It is not the canon of helpful sequence. Principle of enumeration is related to listing all classes, subdivisions, etc. It is a part of classification but not specifically for helpful sequence. And last is principle of management. It relates to library management concepts, not classification sequence. So these 3 options did not belong to canon of helpful sequence. That's all for today's video. I hope this detailed explanation helped you understand the concepts better. If you found this video useful, please like, share and subscribe to the channel for more UGC NET Library Science updates. See you in the next video. Till then, keep learning and keep growing. Bye bye.